سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم قل رب زدني علما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل به لغير الله فمن اضطر غير باغ ولا عاد فلا إثم عليه إن الله غفور رحيم. صدق الله مولانا العظيم. So, completing the discussion on the muharramat, the forbidden items mentioned in these ayats. So the last point that we want to talk about in terms of being, as the Arabic term mudtar, forced out of circumstances to save one's life. So in such situation, we talked yesterday about partaking of carrion or the flesh of khinzir or dam or any of these other items that are otherwise forbidden. The permissibility of taking to the extent that it would save one's life without the desire to enjoy or the desire to actually partake of that, simply to protect one's life, as life is sacred in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, we also mentioned that it doesn't make those things permissible. It simply elevates, the sin or the blame for doing so. But those elements still remain haram. Now, the last point that we want to look into is something which probably most of us are facing from time to time, and that is the medicines which are produced, some of them having alcohol, some of them having other elements, animal elements or otherwise. So what is the permissibility of that? Can we take those medicines or not? So the same principle applies. If we have a medication which comes from a halal source, then there's no question of taking a medicine which isn't. So if we have an option, and again, the question of life and death, it's not like, I'm feeling a headache so I can just, take something. This question of life and death, to save a life. So we don't have a halal medicine for that particular situation. Or there is a halal medicine, but that's not available. And we have a life and death situation. So again, to end also, it's just not, it's possible this might work. It's relatively certain, reasonably certain that this particular medication works, right? So under these conditions, so to take that medication to the extent that the life is saved will be permissible. Okay. So what about the case where someone is facing a certain medical condition? It's not a life and death situation, but it's putting him in a lot of trouble, a lot of pain, or a lot of there's a disability issue or something like that. So in that case, the fuqaha, some have given the permissibility, others looking at the fact that man has become very weak, and he's also, as we say, mubtala. He's faced with these situations where he's weak and he doesn't have other options that are working for him. And so to sort of ease the situation, so in that case, perhaps one may take them if he feels that that's necessary. And of course, to abstain from anything which is doubtful or questionable, much less haram, is the better course of action. So in that case, one should take the necessary steps to research the situation. Don't just a doctor prescribes something and we know that it's got haram elements in it, and we just take it simply because the doctor's prescribed it. We need to look and research. Do we have other options available or not? If we have other halal options, then we must take those. Now, the very last point that we want to mention, besides these issues, there's a lot of gray areas out there. There's a lot of um, chemical products, there's a lot of additives, preservatives, colors. There's a lot of things out there which come from not only doubtful sources but known haram sources. And that's quite a huge list. And what I'm looking for right now, I'm looking for Dr. Ahmed Sakar. Years ago, decades ago, he had compiled a book, but that was quite a long time ago. And he actually mentioned, a huge amount of those ingredients. Now that was decades ago, so now we need to find a good source which can be a reference. So I'm looking for that, and as soon as we find that, I'm going to, ask Khalid Bhai to put that up on the website, and we'll make that available. And we should really use these references, because we're living in a place where people don't generally pay attention to these issues. And obviously, people who are not Muslims, they could care less. But we as Muslims need to care, and we do have options, alhamdulillah. And with a little extra effort, with a little research, we can save ourselves from haram. And reiterating the fact that haram destroys our dunya, it destroys our akhirah. Halal gives us barakah in our dunya, in our akhirah. So any Muslim, who is intelligent would, would definitely want to do his absolute best to ensure that he saves himself from haram and always looks towards a halal alternative. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq wa akhirat da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Naam?
There's an application on the phones. When you go to the store, you scan it, and it will tell you whether, like especially Monwan diglyceride, that capsules, it clearly tells you whether it is halal or not. There's a great job. There's an application.
Yeah, there are some apps. They may not be very thorough, and there may be a little bit of questionability, but it's better than nothing. Yeah, and so we're researching. We're looking for the best possible options so that we can have that information out there for everyone, inshallah. In the meantime, yes, those apps are available. So in the meantime, we can probably be using that. Jazakumullah khair, barakallahu feek.